New England is one of the most historic and culturally rich regions in America. A lot of stuff has originated here. Chocolate chip cookies, stamps, and the sport of basketball, just to name a few.
We also have things here that are quintessentially New England. Things like clam chowder, Maine lobsters, Vermont maple syrup, Boston baked beans, and Boston cream pie. And stuff that isn't food, too.
Join us as we discover other unexpected New England originals in food and beverage, entertainment, sports, community engagement, and more.
I'm Greg Moon.
I'm Megan Wilson.
And this is New England Originals.
There's nothing like a sausage before, or even better yet, after a Red Sox game. And when you're on Lansdowne Street, there is one concession stand that has millions of fans, making it the most famous vendor in New England, if not the entire country.
For our third episode of the New England Originals podcast, we are pleased to have David Littlefield, or as most people know him, the Sausage Guy.
So, what made you decide to go into the concession stand business, and how did you get your start?
I got out of college, and it was like a huge, horrible, terrible economy. Much worse in 2008, 09 yards. But
that's when I graduated.
Work was really crazy and tough. But I always had an idea to do boneless buffalo wings for some reason. I grew up in Foxborough, worked at the stadium when I was 12 years old. My dad, it was one of his 4 jobs, and my time spent with him was up hanging out at the stadium all the time. So I was always looking around saying, like, well, there's nothing new or unique or anything around here. And as I got a little older and got out of school, I was like, well, let's do some boneless buffalo wings. You know, sounds like a good idea now, right? Yeah. It wasn't such a good idea then, though. We built a piece of equipment that cost about $7,000 that I had to beg, borrow, and steal to put together. And we went out there for the first game, and the thing couldn't have been more of a bust, man. It was insane. I was standing there like, oh my God, what have I done? It was crazy. Jesus. And all day people go, I sold 2 orders.
The entire day?
Yeah. I'm in a parking lot out there, you know, just sitting next to a fire hydrant behind Sunnyside Liquors at the time.
Oh, God.
And yeah, it was pretty gut-wrenching. But people all day, you have any sausages? I want hot dogs. I'm like, oh my God. So I had a buddy with mine. He's like, well, what are you going to do next week? I'm like, we're going to make the fryer into a steamer and sell hot dogs and save my ass. And that's what we did. So the Patriots went out of town for 2 weeks. I went back to the manufacturer of the cart, and I had them build a griddle on there that literally cooks 15 sausages at a time. And that's how it started. So I started selling sausages, ass on fire. Patriots sucked then. And there was a new, 15,000 people there every week. And the regulars that got to know me were like, hey, sausage guy, what's up? They were addressing me as sausage guy. And really the rest is history. I just ran with it, and here we are.
$7,000 is a lot to throw down.
Oh, yeah.
For a college kid at that time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's like, in today's money, that's like $1 million or something.
Doing everything I could, right.
I'm not good with math.
We'll check the inflation numbers.
I'm out there one day, one of the first or second days I was there, right? I'll never forget. I'm still, having my college buddies, we're still drinking on the weekends or whatever. And I'm out there hungover on a Sunday morning. This old woman come up to me, and I was selling hot dogs for $2.50, drinks for $1, all kinds of all over the goddamn place, and chips for 50 cents. She comes up and orders like 17 items with me, and I'm looking at her like, you might as well just kill me. I have no idea what you owe me. You know what I mean? It was so bad. And then she says, I just came up with a number, and she gave me whatever the hell it was, and she walked away snickering. And I was like, all right, I got to do better than this for myself, man. I can't let that happen again. It was so funny.
And was it just you?
Yeah, it was just me at the time, yeah. But it was like one of those things like, yeah, I can't come out this hungover again, And I didn't since that point, you know what I mean?
You talked about this a little bit, but, the name The Sausage Guy, it was this thing that started people kind of say, and how did you decide that you were going to go with that?
Yeah, it just grew its own legs at Fenway. I mean, not at Fenway, at Gillette. I mean, it just kept coming every weekend. And then, like, the regulars that were there grinding out, the real diehard Patriots fans that we come to love, right? I mean, it's awesome. They just get it, they got the ball rolling, and it just went on and on. It got bigger and bigger. And, I was coming up from Lansdowne Street 10 years later or whatever, like at 3 a.m, going to a 7-Eleven or store 24 or something like that. And guys, you're the sausage guy? I'm like, yeah. He goes, how did that happen? I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. It's just, I've been doing what I've been doing, man.
Yeah. How many different like carts do you have? Do you have some permanent structures? Like, what's the kind of the size of the business these days?
That's a good question. I mean, we've got 9 carts. I'm building 2 more right now. And those are really predominantly mobile most of the time. Private, corporate parties. We're doing an event this week for Harvard for 300. The weekend's incredibly busy. We've also grown into brick and mortar location, if you will, a kiosk at the Woo Sox this year. We became the official sausage of the Woo Sox, as well as in the park. We're the only, sausage there, which we see you guys there, of course.
We're the official beer.
We're the official beer, yeah.
Yeah, and then we're also at the Pratt Whitney Stadium in Hartford, Connecticut for the Yukon football team. So we got invited down there to do the National Lacrosse Championship last year. And I think we got a call, like, what are you talking about? The guy's like, can you come down? I want to take a meeting. So we drive down there. I don't know what the hell's going on. He's like, look, we want you to operate the 250-yard line locations. And all you need to do is bring staff, protein, and everything. Just, will you do that? I'm like, yeah, of course. Let's go. So that weekend, 3-day event, we were the #1 operation stadium for 3 days straight.
Your first time ever being there?
Yeah, the guy was like blown away. It
Wow.
was so cool. It was so cool because he's a real numbers guy. These stadium operators are like, it's crazy,
Yes.
as you probably know.
Yes.
So he told me after day 1, he goes, I know they were watching in real time at the office. It was laughing my ass off. He came upstairs. He goes, I had to come up see for myself. I'm like, what, Charles? He's like, I got to stand next to you that has popcorn and nachos, and you're out serving them 3-1 with 15 things in your menu. I just had to come see how you're doing this, So that's part of what we've done, and part of that process has been working with you guys here at the festivals. If it's like, we don't want lines, and we don't want lines at Fenway. And it's really whacked now because when we do food truck shows, we don't have lines, and it works against us. We literally got to slow our asses down. I tell the guys, go slow. But if you don't have a line, people don't go.
They don't think it's popular.
It's bananas.
It's not good.
The food truck culture has turned into like, let me sit here for 25 minutes for 2 tacos.
I feel like the sausage, pepper, onion deal, probably the first time I've ever had one was from your cart. And I'm wondering if that was that food a popular thing at that time, or did you build that to become an obvious thing? Like, I'm trying to think of how popular those used to be. Yeah. I mean, they still are, obviously, to this day, but I'm trying to remember, like, my very first one, but it was always an obvious, like, I'm going to get a sausage with peppers and onions. I could never take
credit for what the sweet Italian sausage sandwiches to New England. It's just a thing, right? And it's been a Fenway thing. I think it all stems from Fenway, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's really the nuts and bolts of where it probably came from, in my opinion. And then, the garden always had a thing down there. The guys are always down there. And the garden's been weird because I want to go down there years ago, and I tried to. And I did all kinds of little different things down there. But it was restricted. They wouldn't let the vendors down there. So over the years, when you guys were kids, you go down there, and like these guys were just hustlers. And they would cook their food in these box trucks. And they'd have these grills, like mine that you see here, the smaller ones, but no roof, so the police can't find them. And they'd literally take them off the trucks and throw them in crowds for 15, 20 minutes and get out of there. And they'd get arrested all the time and shit. I'm like, I'm not doing this shit, So to this day, they still don't have really vendors down there. Mm-hmm. I mean, they never have. It's just been.
I feel like when you go to Manhattan, it's always hot dogs. Yeah. There's a hot dog vendor, right? But there's not like that big sausage.
Right. It's weird.
And I'm wondering if that's a New England thing or a Boston thing.
It's definitely a New England, Boston thing. Definitely, to the land and like the whole thing,
Yeah.
But, New York, I mean, it's funny, like the Yankees fans and so forth. I mean, I the love-hate relationship with them, honestly. I mean, it's always great for business. They always fill the stadium, and let's face it, no matter who's winning in the overall running, those games are always epic. Mm-hmm. They're always 1-point games almost. It's pretty
long.
And they're long. I mean,
the pitchers take their time.
But for years of
batters take their time.
So many New York guys like, you got to come down. He's like, the Yes Network talks about you guys all the time. I'm like, what are you talking about? So we did a thing with the Yes Network. 10 years ago, they had a contest. If you lost a contest, you had to serve sausages at Fenway with a sausage guy.
Nice.
And they came up with a camera crew and the whole 9 yards.
That's perfect.
Oh, it was awesome. But the guys were like, "You got to go down there and set up," And I'm like, "Dude, I'm trying to maintain what I got going on here, man." So it's cool. It's cool.
So when did you know that your business was really gonna take off? Like, you keep saying, like, it just kind of like sounds like it happened over the years, but was there a point where you're like, "Holy shit, I have something here"?
It's the work's never finished, right? And I go hand in hand with, like, you never take anything with granted, which I'm sure the Harpoon culture and all you guys here feel the same way, right? It's just a baby that's never grown up, right? And I think one of the most poignant things when we got an opportunity to go retail through Stop and Shop, okay, which was another whole story, but it was pretty remarkable that there was a VP at the time who was now president, and he was like, "What do you think about us doing a trial with you?" And I'm like, "Really?" And then what we did in 6 weeks to get on that shelf, it takes like 2 years. It was just a remarkable effort on their end. As big as a company they are.
Right. And you're like, I've got a brand now. It's in stores.
Well, I still didn't know. You hope and pray. You've been doing stuff for years. Like, people like I'm at the Harpoon. I'm not the Harpoon. The Phantom Food Fest, 15 years. Like, where do we buy your sausages without an answer? Okay.
Right. Yep.
So you're hoping. And as big as Stop and Shop is and all this stuff, I mean, they really gave me a shot. And I didn't know how it was going to go. I was hoping, saying my prayers. And boy, we got on the shelves the first week, half the stores. We were in 213 stores as we are now in New England. We did, it was a half week of opening day week, and I didn't understand the propagation. As you know, it takes time to get through the whole system and so forth. So we did like 237 units, okay? But the next week we topped out at over 3,000 in the first week. And in 2 weeks, 3 weeks after that, I had my VP I was dealing with at the time. He was giving me reports. He's like, "You're outselling Johnsonville 5-1."
Oh my God!
And that was like 2 months into it.
Wow.
So that was one of the more validating aha moments, like that, that you hang your hat on a little bit and you feel like, okay. But in retail, everything is cyclical. Everything,
Right.
I've learned. At the time, it was like, oh, that's
And your
awesome.
percentages are not what they are when
Right.
you're selling it. Here, here's
Exactly.
a $6.
Yeah, exactly. Of course. But, but it was really an awesome feeling, an awesome time to realize that it could be more, and it's sort of fulfilling what I envisioned for what to do. When I was first at Fenway Park, it took me 3 years to get there. They didn't want me there.
Permitting or
everything, permitting, this and that. I mean, I found the location down there. It took me about a year to find the landlord. All those layers of people.
Sure.
Proposed to him, and we built that location at Fenway to be there, because what you see on the street is a closed shop, if you will. They don't allow any more permits. When these guys die, that permit dies with them. So we built the location there, abutting the city property on private property, and so I really built the location down there, which was pretty different at the time.
Sure.
So I wanted to share my Fenway experiences at home.
Yeah.
And I realized that very early on, because I started doing nightclubs on Lansdowne Street, even before the baseball games. But when I started doing the baseball games, I was like, God, this is amazing. I mean, it's like, it's crazy. And you have 15, 17 game homestands that you feel like you're going to die. But you got to remind yourself, you stand outside of Fenway Park, you're getting hit by batting practice balls. Life could be much worse,
Right.
And we're making a living, So I always wanted to share that pretty early on when I started participating with the baseball games at Fenway. And what a better way to do that than with the sausages, So I approached a couple companies in Boston here early on. They were like, "No, you're not selling enough." No, it's like one door after another closing. And so I just left those doors closed, and I just kept doing what I was doing until, the opportunity to Stop and Shop happened. And then, and it came to fruition of what I envisioned, And the only thing I can equate it is, like, just last night I was at a Stop and Shop. I was just like, it never gets old seeing it on the shelf. It's remarkable. We're 6 years into our retail, and we continue to grow year over year. It's incredible. The growth is amazing. The support from people is amazing. it's been such a learning experience. I can only equate it to like a musician or you know, something like that, going into seeing their back in the day,
right.
their album on the at Newberry Comics.
Yep.
It doesn't exist anymore, you know.
I was
barely,
just going to say,
you know what I mean?
Comics.
But you know, I can only equate it to that feeling.
My wife sent me grocery shopping. Actually, I do a lot of the grocery shopping, but she's like, you got to get this cheese that Sydney likes. It's got bacon in it. Bacon cheddar, like in the block of cheese. And I'm looking through the cheese aisle. I'm like, Big League, Harpoon Big League cheese. I'm like, I'm buying that. You know, it was a safe feeling, you know.
Right. It's just wild. It's so now we're in, you know, we brought in with Hannaford's. We've been in there for a couple of years now.
What a great chain that is.
Yeah, they're fantastic. And then
Star
Market Shaw just took us in.
Local, yeah.
We're getting close to a couple big retailers. So right now we're in about 600 plus retailers in New England.
Wow.
And we're also, I don't know if you guys know, I do QVC as well.
Are you getting the sausages from Chelsea or where?
No, we have a co-packer in Danvers, Mass.
Okay.
Yeah. So everything's produced there. It's all local. It's no antibiotics, no preservatives. I mean, it's almost as natural as you can get without saying you're organic. So, you know, it's fresh, flash frozen, unless it's the fresh product that you see in the grocery stores. You know, we sort of crafted these recipes through feedback from customers, particularly at Fenway, because they would be there so often, and I actually would tweak the recipe here and there and get feedback from people out there.
Wow.
So we weren't born in a test kitchen. I'd like to tell people that, you know?
So when we asked you before this started, like, are they Italian sausages? Are they bratwurst? It's just like, no, they're your own thing.
Yeah. I get that answer now. Yeah.
So that makes perfect sense. And I tell you,
they're Italian sausages. It's Italian sausage flavoring, spice profiles, and so forth. Everybody has their nuances and their tweaks.
I love the hot one.
Yeah, well, we just came out with a wicked hot.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Call it a currywurst.
No, this stuff is.
Are you going to serve it at
Oktoberfest?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can get it now at the local grocery stores everywhere.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, it's killer. It is killer. I had a guy email me from Maine. He's like, dude, this stuff is insane. I love it. So we made it. It took us about a year and a half to get it done. But you're no
stranger to spices. I was just going to say salsas.
That's right. So we had salsas for 19 years in South Boston.
19?
A from scratch Mexican kitchen. We had that, and we had a pizza shop on West Broadway at the same time. So what I did when I came up with the idea for the Wicked Hot, and the name of the idea, Wicked Hot, pretty funny. So I'm at Two Roads Brewery doing their Oktoberfest, right? And we're in the sun, and the shelf, like the serving shelf of the cart is like 700 degrees, no joke. It's insane. I'm like, somebody's gonna get killed on this thing. So I put up a sign, careful, Wicked Hot, all day. People are, I get a Wicked Hot. I'm like, I want to make a friggin' Wicked Hot.
That's brilliant.
That's where it came out. So since that time, I created.
So people calling you the sausage guy. I'm the sausage guy. Now people say we should just tell him something, and then it'll turn into a product.
Well, you just keep mentioning the currywurst or whatever, and maybe we'll actually see that.
Currywurst.
Yeah, exactly.
You got any of that currywurst?
What's your go-to order if you're having one of your own items, and how do you top it? I know you mentioned not liking ketchup, so tell me what the perfect David Littlefield sausage is.
What I would do, I would open face grill lengthwise. Right now, I'd have the Wicked Hot probably, and I'd do caramelized onions until they're friggin' crazy. And that's it.
That adds the sweetness to balance the spice.
No mustard? No, nothing. Wow.
Nothing. That's it. I'm going to get a tattoo, though.
No greens and reds?
Of an onion on my arm.
Yeah. Do you have any sausage tattoos?
I have scar tattoos here from onions. Onions are the hottest things in the world.
Really?
Yeah. When you're working and they caramelize and you're on the grill, they flip off the grill off your tongue or whatever. They land on your arms. And you cannot get them off.
It's like napalm.
It is insane. It's so crazy. I literally have scars on my arms from onions, 100%.
So you've served some celebrities in your 30 years of Sausage Guy. Any good stories? Any good dish on celebrities?
I'm on Lansdowne Street, and we used to go to Gold's Gym, use the bathroom there, right? So all the Yankees work out there before the game all the time, back when it was there. So it's April. It's like the fourth game of the year. There's a million freaking people waiting to get. It's like a mess out there. And so some of the Yankees players are coming out, and the crowd's Yankees start going friggin' nuts, right? So I'm running down the stairs just to hit the head, and I almost hit the head of Derek Jeter. We literally almost bumped heads.
Oh my gosh!
I'll never forget it. It was so like we literally almost ran into each other. He's very close. He looks at me. I'm like, what's up? He's like, dude, don't they know it's only April, man? It was awesome. He was so bummed having to walk out into that hell.
Oh,
He's
man.
like, God damn. It was great. It was awesome. But we did a lot of work with Good Sports, who provided, and they still do, inner city programs, sports programs, equipment, and so forth. And that's when I first met David Ortiz, and it was really funny because it was in January, and they're like, you want to do this event? In my office. And I'm like, I don't know. We don't have a lot of money that time of year. I'm like, let's just do it. We'll figure it out. And we just go for it, right? So we're a week away from the event, and then the phone rings in the office. They're like, yeah, it's Good Sports. They want to pair you up with David Ortiz to do a wiffle ball game, and you'll provide the food. I'm like, hell yeah. And it was like, it's David's first go around of really becoming who he is, right? And it was so I'm like all in. It was awesome. And it goes on the live auction, and it ended up like $35,000, something like that, for the football game with 10 kids or something like that.
Jesus.
And it made ESPN headlines. It was like massive. It was great. We were there for all of it. It was so cool. But the day of the event, right? So he gets to the event, and I'm talking to his wife Tiffany, and she's talking. She goes, you know what David said to me way over here? He goes, he looked at me and he says, what the hell is wiffle ball?
Uh-oh.
So that day, now we do his charity. He has his golf tournament for his foundation every year. It was in Florida. And the pandemic year, I think the last part of the pandemic year, because of what was going on, they had it up here over in Newton. And now they do one at each. So we sort of reconnected there, and I brought a picture that he and I took back in 2000, like it was like 3, and it was so cool. And I had him sign it, and he goes, dude, we're still at it, man. Like, we are, dude. It was a real cool, pretty cool moment with him, and it's great to be able to,
I mean, did they have the real serious wiffle ball pitchers that throw the stuff?
No, they were kids.
Oh, they're just kids.
It was kids.
Gotcha.
He got struck out by a 12-year-old girl.
I love that for him. I love David Ortiz.
It was
He's the
awesome.
best. Yeah.
It was something else. And I always, like, when I started with business, I always wanted to be successful enough, and I think to be able to do what I can to give back. It just creates a win-win, and that's always been in the back of my head. It's never been shared or written in a mission statement. It's just
right.
part of what we do. So when I get invited to these things, it's so it's just awesome because it's a win-win as I see it. Time and sausages, that's nothing compared to being able to do it.
Right.
And
we have Harpoon helps. It's
I've been part of that for a long time now.
Yeah, you donated all the sausages at the 5 miler this year, so all
we've
the
been
runners
cooking
got
them.
to.
We've been cooking them for 20 years for you guys, whether it was my brat or sausage
millions
or not,
raised for ALS over the course of that race.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I remember one year, the first year you did the KM thing, right? And the brat with the KM, and it was a Harpoon infused. They want us to boil them in Harpoon, right? Friggin' pouring out. I'm over a stupid pot turning these brats into beer. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? It's probably 5 in the morning because we got to cook, 5,000 for 10 o'clock. Raining. One of my best shirts came out of the experience. So I'm sitting there and my hat's dripping. I'm like, what? It's dripping brown, dude. It's dripping grease. The hat's dripping grease. So I came up with my best shirt. We bleed grease.
Oh, that's great.
From that, So, we've done events with Eucalyptus, Veritech. I've done a lot of stuff with the Andruzzi's.
Hits for kids.
Fantastic people, and it's been incredible experiences. These guys have all now become my friends. I mean, I go to their events, and it's like seeing your friends. It's awesome.
So you're making me wonder, what do you do in the winter months? Like when there's not Red Sox games? Like what's the winter like for you?
I try to ski.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's hard though. Last year after we had, we talked about the Yukon Pratt Whitney thing, and we had such a successful run at the lacrosse, is that we got invited to the U.S. Olympic soccer send-off, women's soccer send-off games, which two.
Oh yeah, I was there. I remember seeing you there. Yeah, because we brewed a beer with Sam Mewis, so we had
and
USA.
They asked me to run a beer stand. It was funny, so I'm like, all right, we're on a beer stand. I come around, it's a Harpoon beer stand.
Oh yeah.
I sent it to the fence. I'm like, so appropriate.
Oh yeah, I was there.
And then that led into an invitation to do all their football games, which we do. And then after that experience, they brought us into the XL Center in Connecticut, in Hartford.
That's
so
awesome.
now we do all the Yukon men's and women's basketball games and hockey games.
See, you're creeping up on New York. You're gonna get
creep up on New York, yeah. But that was
turn
like
Manhattan into sausage town.
over the years, the winters have been slow. They've honestly been tough because everything diminishes. We're not catering as much. We cater year round. Our season now goes into November now, just that as it would. But they've been hard. And in the year of the pandemic last year, we built a really good new team with integrity that we had a mission to keep. And they had a hard time getting us into the XL Center because of contracts and so forth. And Rose and I, my wife, were like, she runs the business with me. We're like grinding, we're like paying these guys. Like, I don't know how we got to get through the winter. And then the phone rang, and we got invited to the stadium, and that got us through. So it's a unique situation as the brand grows and the business grows. The challenges are similar but different.
Yeah.
Who designed the logo?
It's another story, but it's a buddy of mine, lives in California now, who's an artist that's how he makes his living. And I gave him the original cart on Lansdowne Street. I said, come up with something cool. And the rest is sort of history,
It's got like that 50s sort of.
Like Betty.
Oh,
Davis
we just
kinda
did?
look.
Oh, I can tell you guys. So for Oktoberfest this year, we finally did it. I want to do it for years. We built a life-size cutout version of that with her head out, so you can put your face on.
Oh yeah,
People
you
are
take
gonna
pictures
love that.
as the Rocket Girl. Awesome.
That's
I'm
awesome.
going to get it this afternoon.
Oh, well, if you want to come to Oktoberfest to be able to experience that, it's September 30th and October 1st. Come see us here, and the Sausage Guy will be here too. So thank you so much
your
for coming
photo.
and talking with us today. We
Absolutely.
really
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
us.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. It was a lot of
Cheers,
fun.
guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.